Welcome to the session. Topic of this session is labor policy. You all know that agriculture is very important sector of the national economy. Agriculture sector contribute in the national income. Large share is contributed from the agriculture sector, provide employment to large section of the society, provide food security to the country population, and also provide the raw material to the agrobet industry. And the agriculture is basically labor intensive occupation. It requires a great amount of labor for its operations, starting from the preparation of the feed, sowing of seed or planting, hoeing or weeding of the the field, the harvesting, threshing, storage. So in activity, all the activities, a great amount of labor is required, and both skilled and unskilled labor is required in agriculture sector. So labor contribute a lot, is one of the important factor of production in the agriculture sector. Land is another, the chemicals or the other resources are also there, but labor is contribute a lot in the the agriculture production and productivity. And there are various issues related to agriculture. The size and the magnitude of agriculture labor is increasing over the period of time. There are various issues related to agriculture, though the requirement of the labor, the human labor is declining over the period of time, maybe due to the the modern the technology, particularly after the mechanization, the dependence on the human labor is declining over the period of time. But there are many issues in agriculture labor, particularly there the socio-economic condition, it is always in the discussion, because the agriculture labor activity is done basically the section of the society which is basically socially and economically at a disadvantaged stage. So they do the basically the labor work. So in order to understand the the labor conditions and what are the different things can be done to improve their socio-economic conditions, this session is devoted. So in this session basically we will understand what is the agriculture labor, what is the size of the agriculture labor, what are the different problems in agriculture labor, how we can improve the agriculture labor. So learning objective of this session is to explain the objective of agriculture policy, particularly on the labor policies, and discuss the magnitude of agriculture labor, the amount of wages they are getting, and also we will discuss the causes of poor condition of agricultural labor, and we will describe these policy measures to improve the condition of labor. So what is the labor or agriculture labor? So basically there are three types of labor is included in the agriculture labor. One is the cultivator, who work on their own field, on their land. The land may be leased in or the mortgage land for themselves. They do activity for their own, for their work. Then we have the agriculture labor, the person who work on another's land for the wages, for money, kinds or share. So they are basically the agriculture labor, and basically they work on another field. They don't own the land of their own, so they do work on another's field. And there are third category of the agriculture labor, the workers who engage in the forest, fishing and livestock. They are also called as a agriculture labor. And there are certain major characteristics of the agriculture laborers. They are basically socially deprivation, social deprivation, insecurity is the one of the major characteristics of agriculture labor, because the people who do the agriculture labor activity, they are basically from the socially disadvantaged category. They don't have the economic means with them. They don't have much interaction with other section of the society. Basically they are basically socially deprived, So, so their social security is very less compared to other section of the society, and the size of the agricultural labor is increasing over the period of time due to the increase in the the increase in the category of the land holding under the marginal and small category due to the fragmentation of the land. So, the size of the agricultural labor is increasing over the period of time, and the low wages rate, because there is supply is abundant, there is large number of the people, demand is we can say less in throughout the year, there is not much demand and supply is more. So, that is why there is low wage rate in case of the agricultural labor, and basically unskilled, they do not have any specific skills because they get the job for a certain period of time. Basically seasonal work they get, seasonal labor they get. So, they are basically unskilled, and they are migratory in character, because in agriculture field generally they get work for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months maximum, and for rest of the period they move from rural area to urban area for searching of the job or work. So, they are basically migratory, or even for where the lot of demand is there for agricultural labor, they come for that period only, for sowing season or for harvesting season they come and they do work, and then they go back to their native places. So, they are basically in the migratory character, and this agricultural labor, they are hardly covered by any rules and regulations. There is not much, or basically they are unorganized labor. They don't have any, formal organizations, so they can put their, demand or like that. So, basically they are not covered by, any rules and regulations. And here we can see the growth of agricultural labor in India. And first we can see the population. So, in 1950-51 we have 361 million population, and which has increased to 1210 million in 2011. So, around 4 times increase in the number of population in the country. And we have the rural population. There was around 83% population in the that is from the rural area in the 1950-51. The share of rural population is declining over the period of time. In 2011 we have 833.7 million peoples who are living in the rural area. The share is 68.9% in the 2011. So, share of the rural population though is declining, because lot of peoples they are moving to the urban areas, because the facilities or the infrastructure, the education facility, the medical facilities available in the urban area. That's why the peoples are moving from rural area to urban area. Even the jobs are available in the cities, in the urban area. So, that's why people are slowly moving to the urban area. And the third column is basically the total workers. So, how many workers are there in the country? In the year 1951, we have around 139.5 million workers. This number is continuously increasing. It has increased to 180.4 million in 1971. Then it has increased to 402 million in the year 2001. And it has reached to 481.9 million in 2011. So, continuously the number of workers is increasing over the period of time. And then we have the agricultural labor in data, and around 92.7 million agriculture workers we have in the 1951, and it was around around 70% of total workers were engaged in the agriculture sector. And this share is share of agriculture workers into total workers is declining over the period of time. Like in the year 1961 it has become though the number of the workers of agriculture are increasing over the period of time, but the share of the agriculture worker in the total worker is declining over the period of time. So in 1961 we have the 131 million agriculture worker. The share was around 69.5%, and again the share also remained the same in the 1971. From the 1981, the share of the agricultural labor is declining, over the period of time, because more job availability in the the other sectors, or development of other sector is more compared to development of agriculture sector. So share of the agriculture worker is declining. Like in the year 81, the share of agriculture worker in total agriculture was 60%. Then it has reduced to 59% in 1991. Then in 2001 it has reduced to 58.2%, and in the year 2011 the share of agriculture worker in total worker has reduced to 54.6%. So in the last decade, 2001 to 2011, there was around the 4% decline in the share of agriculture worker in the total worker. But when we see the composition of the agriculture labor, and when we see the data on the cultivators and the agriculture labor, so there is an interesting trend we observed, like the number of cultivators, though they increasing, because the the fragmentation of the land or on the division of the agriculture holding, but the share of the cultivators in the total agriculture worker is declining, and the share of the agriculture laborer who are working on the other fields, that is increasing. So in the year 1951, the cultivators were having around 72%, and the agriculture labor were having around 28%. But the share of this, you can see in the table that the cultivator numbers increase in the years 1961 due to the adaptation of various land reforms activities, allotment of land to the landless the farmers. So share of cultivators were increased in the 1961, and after that actually it remained constant in the year 1971 and 81, because the implementation of the land reforms activity. But after that the share of the cultivators is declined tremendously, and in the year 2011 there was share of the cultivator was only 45%, and the share of the agricultural labor has increased to 54.9%. So you can see the around more than double share increase in the last 60 years of the agricultural labor. So it has increased from 28% in the total agricultural labor to the 55% in the total agriculture in the year 2011. And here we can see the all India wage rate for the general agricultural and non-agricultural labor, and the data is given for the November 15 and November 16, and there is very slightly increase in the wages of the men and women both in the agriculture sector and non-agricultural sectors. And the wages of the men in the year November 2016 for agriculture category, the wages was average wages was 256.08 rupees, and in case of the non-agriculture it was 263.70 rupees. In case of women, the wages was 198.06 rupees, and in case of non-agriculture the wages of women was 200.08. But here interesting figure is that there is a large difference between in the wages of the men and women. Around 60 rupees difference we can see the difference is there between men and women. So there is a need to remove this gap. The women should also get this similar kind of wages for the similar nature of the work. And here there are various reasons and for poor economic condition of the farm labor. One is the low social status, like rural society is still constrained by categorization of social status based on the caste and power. So so because of the the agricultural labor, they are basically from the the low caste, or they don't have much power in economic power or social power. So the agricultural laborers, they have the low social status, and basically laborers are belonging to the low social status are deprived of the essentialities, all the essential service required by the human being. They are not available to the agricultural labor. And basically the agricultural laborers are unorganized. I know though they provide the livelihood to the majority of the workforce, but agricultural labor is unorganized, leading to the lower wages and poor working conditions for them. And basically agricultural labors, it is the seasonal employment. Seasonability basically that is inbuilt in the peculiarity of the agriculture sectors. During the off seasons, the agricultural laborers find difficult to get the economic employment. They don't get much wages if some job is there, because supply is much more than the demand in the off season. And there are paucity of the non-agriculture job in the rural area, particularly because agriculture need little expertise and investment as compared to the other enterprise. Non-availability of non-agriculture job in rural area also causes the poor condition of agriculture laborers, because they are not able to get much job if there is no job opportunity available in the rural area. And indebtedness of the agriculture labor is another important or causes of their poor economic condition. Basically, there is a saying that agricultural labor are born in the debt, live in the debt, and die in the debt, and they always under the pressure from the the debt they have taken from the money lenders. And basically they take the money from the non-institutional sources, from the money lenders, like so the exploitative methods of money lending by the money lenders that result in the poor condition of the laborers. And there are various measures for the for improvement in the condition of the agricultural laborers, and government have adopted various measures. And one of the measure is better implementation of the wages, minimum wages in agriculture. We have the minimum wage act, it should be implemented properly. So government of India, they have the policy of the minimum wages, and it should be affected, basically it should be implemented effectively, and it should reach to the small and marginal farmers through a holistic approach. Then rehabilitation of landless agriculture workers we need to be done. Actually the landless and agriculture workers should be regulated through the effective land tenancy reforms. Actually those agricultural laborers, they are doing the agricultural activity, they don't have the land with them, so they should be provided land by the farmers who are having in excess amount of the land. Their rights should be actually protected, and by providing better living condition, we can improve the the condition of the landless agriculture workers. And also we need to improve the agriculture, the production and productivity, because the owner, the job provider, they are also not in a good condition. Their income is also low, so they cannot provide much wages to the laborer. So actually we need to also improve in the economic and social condition of the cultivators who provide job to the agriculture workers. So we need to provide the technology to them. Actually we need to promote the agriculture policy which provide a competitive edge to the agriculture sectors, and the traditional practices should be transformed to a commercial venture. So we need to build the commercial element in agriculture sector, so they get more income and they can provide the wages to the agriculture labor. And we need to also form a peasant union for agriculture laborers. Actually these unions can be formed on a cooperative principles, like labor cooperatives we can organize, or some farmers organization we can organize, or agricultural labor organization can be formed, and basically so that they can have a feeling, they can have the power of the like organized sector, so they can have the better bargaining power. Then to improve the socio-economic condition of the agriculture, we need to promote, we need to organized more public work program like Manrega, and basically it will serve two purposes. One is the infrastructure building in the rural area, another is that it will create the employment in the rural area. So if there is employment there, there is some income is there, and their economic condition will be improved. And government have adopted various policy actions, and there are different objectives, and the important objectives are that the policy basically foster an enabling environment for rapid employment generation through enhanced public and private investment in the rural area, and basically the provide the training, retraining and rehabilitation of the retrenched laborers in closed or sick units. In a closed unit or sick units, the peoples they just given out of that enterprises, and they lost their job because the unit is not working, or sometimes they have been removed from the organization by saying that you are not having the sufficient skills. So we need to provide them the training and retraining, and we need to improve the working condition in unorganized sectors. That is another objective of the agriculture policy or the labor policy. So actually we should provide the decent wages and basic lifeline and social security to them for workers, and actually we need to also minimize the adversarial labor relations with the owner of the units or the employers. And actually the objective of the agricultural labor policy is to provide labor market security or employment security, work security, and also income security for the working population. And government have adopted various measures like the fixation of the minimum wages. This is one important initiatives implemented by the government of India. So here in the government fix the minimum rates of wages which are payable by the employer to the employees or the workers, but the enforcement has not been possible in the agriculture sector, and actually the enforcement will not likely to solve the problem of the agriculture labor, as there is a more supply of the agriculture labor. And then another measures like we should have some special area programs like a small farmer development agency, where the government provide the financial support to start some economic activity in the rural area, in the tribal area, and so they can start their own activities, some production activities. So so the people can be provided some employment by organizing some small activities or production activity. And land reclamation and settlement is also very important. Government have given a lot of focus on this program. So basically land distributed among the landless agricultural laborers through the land reforms program. Then a number of the rural employment programs were started in the rural areas, like various programs have been implemented to organize, to conduct the labor intensive work on a large scales like Manrega, or there are many. Swarna Jayanti Rozgar Yojana were there. So integrated rural development programs were there, and basically the employment were provided for activities on the road building activity, reclamation and development of land, the drainage development, the embankments, the water conservation and groundwater recharging, the minor irrigation programs, and the soil conservation activities, afforestation, and there are special repair programs were implemented. So the aims of all these programs is to provide the rural employment or employment in the rural areas. And the abolition of bonded labor was another actions or measure taken by the government of India, and basically the bonded labor systems abolition act was passed in the year 1976, and here after this act, every bonded labor stands liberated and discharged from all obligation to render bonded labor. But there was a problem observed, there is a lack of enforcement. So even after the implementation of this act, there was some instances of bonded labor. And the another actions taken by the government is to provide insurance to the agricultural labor, and then there are a number of the acts were passed by the government of India and the state government to protect the agricultural labor. And important the acts who protect the agricultural labor was the Workmen Compensation Act 1923, and basically here the compensation is provided to the labor in case of injury due to the accident or during the course of employment or in the course of the employment. Then another important act to protect the agricultural labor was the Minimum Wage Act 1948. So here the government set the minimum wages that must be paid to skilled and unskilled laborer, and here the purpose is to ensure a basic standard of living including the good health, dignity, comfort, education, and provide for any contingency in case of sicknesses or something, some accident is there. So to provide the contingency also. And the wage rates in the scheduled employment differ across the states, across the skill, across the sectors, across the regions and occupation. So throughout the India there is no fixed same wage rate. It may be differ based on the job profile, based on the skills. And the another important act passed in agricultural labor to protect the agricultural labor was Maternity Benefit Acts in 1961, and purpose is to promote the welfare of the working woman. And after this act, basically it prohibits the working of women, of particularly pregnant women, for a specified period of time. And then the Equal Remuneration Act 1971 Act was passed by the government, and it says about the paying of equal remuneration to men and women worker for the same type of work, same nature of the work. And then we had the Bonded Labor System Affiliation Act 1971. So there are different acts were implemented by the government of India, and basically we can sum the session that the social deprivation and insecurity of agricultural labor were there due to the oversupply and unorganized nature of the agricultural labor, and basically the unskilled labor, or the nature of the agricultural labor is basically migratory. They move from one places to another, and various measures were taken by the government to improve the condition of the agricultural laborer, and various acts were also passed to protect the agricultural labor. And but there was a problem in the enforcement, and there is basically that enforcement is not possible due to the more supply, and there is a absence of the union of the agricultural laborers. So there was enforcement problem. With this, I thank you all.